What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am Fable Joey, and I am back today. I'm going to give you guys a movie review for the new live-action adaptation of Fullmetal Alchemist. Now, Fullmetal Alchemist is actually one of my favorite anime of all time. I have a ton of the movies, and then I have my manga, and then I really have the Blu-ray collections of each of the seasons of Brotherhood. This little box here with pictures from Brotherhood and all sorts of things like that. So I love Fullmetal Alchemist. And when I first heard about a live anime adaptation, I didn't really think they could work it out. And I was pleasantly surprised about how this movie actually turned out to be, because I really ended up enjoying it. Which is super weird, because all these anime adaptations are always just so bad to mediocre. Like, you see things like Dragon Ball Evolution, and you're like, ugh. And you see things like Avatar, and you're like, ugh. But then there's some of those gems that come around, like the Rurouni Kenshin live-action movie, and I consider the Fullmetal Alchemist live-action to be somewhere around there. It's not a perfect movie by any means at all, but it definitely is better than it had any right to be. Fullmetal Alchemist live-action 2018 is definitely a film with some problems, but for me, the good things outweigh the bad. Guys, so as you know, I love Fullmetal Alchemist. I have a ton of Fullmetal Alchemist stuff, so eventually I was going to review this movie. And I was really excited to watch it, and I just barely finished it, so this is a verdict just right off the bat from finishing the movie. So let's talk about it. I thought it was great. I thought they could have done a little bit better on some of the things, but we're going to go into the good stuff first. So what did I like? The direction, for sure. That really stood out to me, because when you watch things like that, sometimes it's really sloppily directed. But it was actually really cool, and some of the shots were absolutely fantastic. The area that they shot it in was also really pretty. I heard that they went to Europe to film it, which is just awesome. And a little disappointed here, I'm just going to go into a little bit of the bad stuff that I didn't like, that the whole cast is Japanese, because in the show, Fullmetal Alchemist, they're actually European, which is a little weird, but I understand, because if you're going to have a couple Japanese cast members, but then the rest be European, it didn't work. So I either think you go full Japanese cast or no one else, but it seems to be that a lot of them did a really good job. There's a lot of standout great actors, and I love the way that they portrayed these characters. Standouts are, I love Major Hughes in this movie. He was pulled off so well, and he really, I think that's the character who didn't change the most from the anime to this now live-action adaptation. Hughes was great. The actor who played him, I don't know how to pronounce his name because it's like really long, and I'm not even going to go for it, but he was really well casted. I thought he did a great job. And the actor for Ed, he ended up growing on me. I was watching the movie and I was like, oh, I really hate this guy as Ed. And you gotta have a good protagonist, because Ed is the main character throughout everything, and you're supposed to like Ed. If you don't like Ed, then you're not gonna like the show. And I didn't for the first little while, but he really started to grow on me. And Alphonse too. I love the voice who did Alphonse. But I really just think that it's amazing that they were able to pull off even as good as a live adaptation as they did. And another good thing is the CGI. Now, in a lot of these live action adaptations like this, the CGI is really bad. And in the Fullmetal Alchemist movie, I don't think the CGI is necessarily great, but then again, they don't have as big as a budget as US movies do. So I kind of understand it. And it wasn't that bad. I mean, there was a couple of moments where the CGI where I was looking at it and I was like, woo. Like, it was a little rusty. And I can tell that. And I get it. They don't have as much of a budget. And when you have a suit of armor, like Alphonse, it's hard to do that. And I don't know if they made the suit and then they had CGI for its movements, but I actually thought they were able to pull off Alphonse pretty well, which is really great, because if they couldn't pull off Alphonse and he looked like Cyborg did in Justice League, then I really wouldn't have liked it, because that was super noticeable. So the CGI for the most part is pretty good. Now let's talk about the story. The story is basically what Fullmetal Alchemist would be if it was completely abridged. So my personal thoughts is, I think it goes from like episode 1, kind of around there, to about episode 20 of Brotherhood, and it ends it. Could there be a sequel? I don't know. I feel like they could make one, because it didn't necessarily resolve itself towards the end. But I don't think it needed to. And if they can't make a sequel, I'd be fine with what they did. Because, honestly, like I said, it's better than it has any right to be. It's really well directed, the movie looks great, and the costume design is absolutely fantastic. I mean, the standouts that I told you, Ed, Al, Hughes, but also General Mustang. He had a perfect costume as well as his team, and he was acted really, really well. And some of the CGI moments with him and his flames, because he snaps and the flame comes out, it was actually really, really well done. Now let's get into the problems that I have with the movie. So, the main antagonist, instead of having the Führer or switching out for King Bradley, they don't have him. They have a man called General Hokuro, and he just wasn't very appealing to me. I don't think he was a very good villain. He just was kind of there. And I really hate when movies do that, when the villain's just kind of there. And then you got the homunculi. There's 3 homunculi that appear in this movie. You have lust, you got gluttony, and you got envy. And the only one that was even kind of good was lust. Envy just looked really bad. It wasn't that the actor did a really bad job, he just didn't look like Envy at all. Which really sucked because I like Envy in the adaptation, and I don't like Lust that much, but the actor for Lust did a great job. But still, those 3 homunculi characters, especially the CGI, like I said, there are some parts with the CGI where I was like, whoa. And you can definitely tell it with Gluttony. It was like really kind of cringeworthy at moments. I'd be like, really? Is that the best you could do? Because it really was. It wasn't that great. But that's really like, it's just a minor problem. And also, they introduce a character called Dr. Marco about an hour into the film, and he's really only in it for about 6 or 7 minutes before he gets killed off. And really, I was like, oh, that's weird, because they actually kind of developed him, and they were like waiting to get there for a while, and then they just killed him off right immediately. Which is a little weird, but I can kind of understand the motives for the character who killed him to do it. Now, another bad thing I have is necessarily the ending is a little wonky. It doesn't really follow anything from the anime adaptation, because if any of you have seen the anime up to part 5 at the end of the original Or Brotherhood, Edward does end up getting Al's body back, and he sees Al's body in this live adaptation, but they don't do anything. And I get that they don't want to do it because, like, the Philosopher's Stone, and they just, like, don't want to do it because using a Philosopher's Stone that was created by dead people is a bad thing to resurrect someone, so they don't use it, and they kind of end it there, and Alphonse is still in his suit of armor, and Ed still has a mechanical arm and leg. So that was a little problem there. And then my last problem was the beginning of the movie. The first about 25 minutes were just awful for me. I was not hooked on any of the characters at all, and just the opening scenes were really, really bad. The kid actors who portrayed Ed and Alphonse, in my opinion, did not do a very good job of capturing the Ed and Alphonse drama that goes on at the beginning with their mom. They're trying to resurrect their dead mom, and they just really didn't have the emotion to pull it off for me. But, other than that, I think that it was really well shot, directed, some acted, the CGI was better than I thought it was going to be, and the soundtrack was actually pretty cool. Especially the ending soundtrack and the opening soundtrack really had a way of bringing the characters to life. Of course, they put us through that Shao Tucker transformation thing again. Gosh dang it, I've seen it like 5 different times. It's making me mad, but they did it pretty well. They pulled off Hugh's death better than I ever could have asked for, and it was a pretty decent movie. I do have some problems with it, and it's not perfect by any means at all, but the Fullmetal Alchemist live adaptation is better than what I expected it to be. Yeah, the villain's not great, yeah, some of the CGI sticks out at points, but it was really better than I thought it would be. And one last touch, just, there's a couple fight scenes in there that really stood out. The one between Ed and Al, when Al thinks that Ed maybe created false memories for him, was really impactful, and I thought the actors did a fantastic job. That scene alone is really well, like, acted and choreographed. So guys, the final verdict on this movie, I'm giving Fullmetal Alchemist, the live adaptation, a 7.8 out of 10. It was better than I thought it was going to be, and I really don't have any complaints to, like, drop it down to a 5 or anything. There was nothing that was too bad besides the first 15 minutes that really made me kind of angry, but besides that, I thought it was really well done. And I'm really glad to say that, because honestly, I didn't think it was going to be very good. So, guys, this movie is on Netflix. Do I recommend it? If you're a huge fan of Fullmetal Alchemist, if you love Fullmetal Alchemist everything, just give it a shot. It's great. If you're not a fan of anime or Fullmetal Alchemist, I don't really consider suggesting this to people, because you really kind of got to know the source material to actually enjoy the movie. And I don't know if you would actually be able to enjoy it without reading or watching any of the anime. So guys, that was my thoughts on Fullmetal Alchemist, the live-action adaptation movie. Better than I thought it was going to be. If you're a huge Fullmetal fan, you owe it to yourself to check out this movie. They did a pretty great job. Okay, guys, so thank you for watching. If you like this video, you can leave a like, a comment down below on how you thought the movie was, and I will see you next time.